So initially, I really didn't want to post anything in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement. There's a lot of important things being said, and I didn't want to drown out any possible voices if I didn't have anything to bring to the conversation. I mean, not that I'm going to drown anybody out with an average of 100 to 200 views per video, but trying to grow my channel at this time just felt gross. However, I do have something to talk about, and it's something I'm very passionate about. That's diversity in media. There seems to be a stigma against diversity, where I've heard people talk about forced diversity, whether it be changing a character who was previously white into a minority character, retconning a character into a minority character, or introducing a brand new character who just so happens to be a minority. With any of these, there's usually an outcry of people against the movement saying, "Keep politics out of movies." Imagine thinking the color of someone's skin was a political stance. I'm sure I could make an entire separate video about how altering pre-existing characters to be more diverse is not only a good thing, but is really the only way to get people of color and alternative sexualities into modern comics and adaptations. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. As I mentioned before, people seem to have a problem with seeing important issues in their entertainment. And a lot of people seem to complain that the new woke mentality is ruining a bunch of newer stories. However, the thing about that that's always bothered me is that the mentality is in no way new. March 1941, Captain America makes his debut, punching Hitler in the face. August 1942, Superman begins his fight against the KKK. February 1969, Mr. Rogers invites a local African-American police officer to soak his feet in his pool, and they share a towel in the middle of the civil rights movement. February 1985, Spider-Man reveals that he was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. February 1997, Homer Simpson is initially homophobic, but learns that's a shitty thing to do. I think you get the point. The idea of bringing up these issues, or politics, as people like to call them, has been around for a very, very, very long time. And I 100% believe that these stories need to be told. Simply due to the fact that there are children who grow up very sheltered in their parents' beliefs, be them good or bad. In the 1960s, as the civil rights movement was just getting underway, there were lots of people who treated black people as lesser beings. So for a lot of children, the only way to hear that that stuff was wrong was through comic books and TV. That's why the Mr. Rogers episode I mentioned earlier is so important, is those kids wouldn't have learned that any other way. In modern day, racism is still around, as evidenced by the millions of protests going on around the world. Modern history has wanted us to believe that it has been stomped out, but it is simply false. And growing up as a light-skinned male, I really wasn't exposed to racial diversity growing up. My family wasn't trying to hide it from me, but to put it simply, we aren't racist, and by extension, I was never exposed to racism. However, one night while staying up at my grandma's house, I watched the Disney Channel, and something important was brought to my attention.
The truth is, I don't hire black people.
Now, I actually didn't watch much of That's So Raven growing up. I was more of a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, or Life with Derek sort of kid. However, this was the episode that really made me interested in the show. Season 3, Episode 10, True Colors, opens like any other episode, with Raven's father cooking up an amazing dinner for Black History Month. Raven's little brother Corey struggling to write an essay about the topic, and Raven herself heading out to apply for a job at her favorite clothing store. Raven and her best friend Chelsea both perform an on-the-job interview, and while Raven exceeds with flying colors, Chelsea is, well, Chelsea. The next day at school, Chelsea gets a call saying she got the job, while Raven is turned down. Devastated, she just can't figure out what she did wrong in the interview, until she has a vision of the future.
Well, did you have a vision, right?
Yeah. And I saw Chloe straight up say I do not hire black people. What?
This changed everything. This was my first real experience seeing racism unfold. It felt weird. It became even more clear after the commercial break when Raven's friend Eddie asks her if she's seen anyone Black, Latino, or Asian working at the store, and she replies,
No.
The scene then has Eddie tell a story of when he was young. He had a very good friend named Freddie, and one day Freddie's father wouldn't let them play together anymore, and told him he's not allowed to play with black kids. This was definitely an eye-opener for me. I remember bringing this episode up a year later when we started learning about Martin Luther King for Black History Month. The episode definitely stuck with me. Even to this day, as with the resurface of the Black Lives Matter movement, I felt the need to share my experience with this episode firsthand. The idea of someone thinking they're better than someone else because their skin's a different color is just disgusting. The idea that someone could think they're better than anyone is disgusting. It doesn't matter if it has to do with race, gender, sexuality, or disability. Nobody is better than anybody, because everybody is human. In hindsight, this episode doesn't always handle the issue with respect.
I always knew about racism, but I never knew how much it could hurt.
Yeah, Ray, that's intense.
Well, I'm off to work.
What?
But the fact that it handled the issue at all, and was able to introduce children to a problem still going on all over the world, is worth taking a note. In fact, it seems Disney did take notes, as the sequel series following Raven as a single mother still handles the big issues to this day, with episodes tackling vaping, activism, and discrimination. This kind of stuff needs to be shown to kids. I know some parents want to protect their children from the cruelness of the world, but some parents are teaching their children to be the cruel ones. So getting these messages out there is important to make sure that one day we live in a better world. I'd hate to think what would happen if I never saw this episode, if I instead decided to listen to the countless racists and homophobes that live in my hometown. Kids today have it even worse, with the current president being a racist, sexist, transphobic bigot. So we need now more than ever to put these so-called politics into our media. Whether it be movies, television, or even just kid shows. Because a TV telling kids the right thing is a hell of a lot better than their parents telling them the wrong things.
Today, trouble under a noon sun. Negroes and white rabbis marched to a segregated hotel with these results. Manager James Brock told them to get off his private property, tossed cleaning chemicals inside the pool in an effort to get the Negroes to leave.
It's so warm, I was just putting some water on my feet.
Oh, it sure is.
Would you like to join me?
It looks awfully enjoyable, but I don't have a towel or anything.
Oh, you share mine.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh,
Come along,
man.
I'll put some more water in here.
Oh. Who can put your hand in my hand and be ready to feel all safe and strong? You're a child, so you can do it. Children do it all life long. There we are.
You have great boots to fill, Officer Clements. And
Well,
you
thank you
fill
very
them
much.
well. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
stopping by.
So long.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
And if you are a kid watching this video, I feel like it's my responsibility to share my views. Issues that are very important to the world right now, with both justice for George Floyd and Pride Month happening at the moment of recording this. So listen closely. Love is love. Trans rights are human rights. Feminism is powerful. And Black lives matter. While I initially didn't want to post this to avoid people being drowned out, I do feel this message is important to share. That's why I am uploading it. But I will not be using the Black Lives Matter hashtag, as people are using that to find news about the current protests and riots going on. I do have to request that if you're going to share this video, please do not tag it with Black Lives Matter or any variation of the phrase, because, like I said earlier, I really don't want to clog up the hashtags when they're used for very important stuff right now. People need them for news, people need them for updates. Just please don't use the hashtag when sharing this video. I also ask that you help in any way that you can, whether it be going to a protest or donating. Or if those options aren't available to you right now, I ask that you please turn off your ad block and click on the video that I will be linking to at the end of this and just let it play in a browser and let it soak up the ad revenue. All proceeds go to the Black Lives Matter Fund, so this is something that I feel is very important. I would rather link to that than one of my own videos right now. I've also decided not to include my usual in-joke at the end of this, simply because I usually use that to tell people to subscribe, and self-promoting right now just doesn't feel right. And I've actually gone ahead and swapped out my usual social links with the Black Lives Matter funding information for donating and helping out in any ways you can. Please help in any way that you consider possible, but if you can't help right now, don't shame yourself into feeling bad about it. We've all been in rough situations. It's a horrible, horrible thing to deal with, but I do ask that if you can help, that you do help. All right, and with that, I want to say thank you for watching my video, and I can't breathe.